Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitation in your weight loss and weight maintenance. Today we're going to talk about at what point do you start loving yourself more than you love the food addiction. Now before I begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my website, which has hundreds of articles and recipes. If you like podcasts, I've had The Awakened Man since 2016. A lot of that is health related. I also have the Cinema Rag, both of which you can find on Apple and Spotify. Rate and review. And lastly, if you appreciate my content, there is a link for PayPal donation. Now, as I mentioned before, people who are overweight have a disordered relationship with food, and we like it. Food tastes good, especially food that hits the bliss point, that perfect combo, fat, sweet, salty. We love that. Can't stop eating those bags of chips or that cake or whatever it is. If it was something that didn't taste good, it'd be different. And I would argue that if beer didn't make us drunk, people wouldn't drink it because beer as a whole doesn't taste that good. But either way, we love our addictions more than we love ourselves. Because if we didn't, we would fight and stymie the addiction. So we can't say that, oh no, I love myself more than I love the food, because if that was the case, you wouldn't have a disordered relationship with food and keep binge eating. Now, you could argue that on like a cognitive level, you might say, yes, I love myself and I'm fighting this addiction, this demon, this binge eating demon, or of course you can apply this to alcohol. But I do love myself. But ultimately, if you loved yourself, you would do a better job at fighting the demon. And what's a better job? Well, a better job could apply to a lot of things. We can say that I'm working on it, but are you going to therapy? Are you going to rehab? Are you doing Overeaters Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever it is? No. Actions speak louder than words. It's the actions that matter. And I've talked about it in my personal playlist on the penultimate episode on Confessions of an Obese Child, where I talked about suicidal ideation and cutting and all these things, that my parents would take me to dietitians all the time when I was a teenager, and I just go home and keep calling Domino's and binge eating 2 large pizzas and hiding the cartons and breaking into the locked cabinet where all my the junk food was stored. If you don't know these stories, go check out that playlist. Because deep down, in retrospect, I didn't love myself because I loved the food more than I loved myself. So let's be honest and let's look at the actions. If your actions are that you continue to harm yourself, and we are harming ourselves when we're doing that, then we really can't say that we're trying and that we love ourselves. So at what point does the fulcrum turn? Does the pendulum swing? At what point, when it's like this, the seesaw, and then it starts going over? I mean, I can tell you there's a couple of things. I think newness is one thing. So for example, let's say with divorce, you see lots of times women or men recently divorced, and they feel liberated and free. And so there's going to be a time where they're going to indulge in the vices. So if it's something that's new, you tend to see that more. Now, that doesn't really apply here, but if it's something that is new, you're going to be more likely to indulge in it. Because after a little while, the newness wears off. And it's like what I've talked about with white cake. White cake tastes good at the beginning, and then after a while, you just get really sick. And the newness wears off. So I think with some of it, it's time. With time, at least on one level, you're like, I don't even get anything out of this anymore. Kind of like what people do with porn addiction or drug addiction. Ultimately, what else are other factors? I think what is at stake in your life? They always talk about with alcoholics, you shouldn't enable them. This is what they teach at AlAnon. I used to go to AlAnon because my father was an alcoholic. You got to stop bailing your kid or your spouse out of prison when they get a DWI. You can't let them stay at your house. All these little things, because you need them to hit rock bottom for them to truly affect a change. And as long as you're bailing them out, or as long as life isn't uncomfortable for them, they're going to continue to do it. So I think when it comes to this kind of analogy is, if you have nothing to lose or nothing to fight for, you're more likely to do it. I can say when I was 16 or 17, right before I lost the weight, I came to the realization, because I had a coach tell me in PE, he's like, you're going to die young. And I also realized at this point, post-puberty, that I was never going to get a girl. I was never going to have a girlfriend, have sex, kiss, any of these things. And so I think that was a factor too. It's like, what is at risk? What is at stake? And, maybe if you're 50 and weigh 400 pounds, you don't think there's anything really at stake because you think, well, I'm old and I'm never going to get a wife if that's what you want. Like let's say you're a virgin or never had a relationship because you've been morbidly overweight your whole life. You might think, well, at this point in my life, what's the point? Whereas if you're 18, 24, I think maybe there is more of a motivation to change because you do want to have these things, these kind of basic things in life that we take for granted, which is like clothes that fit you. You don't have to go to a big and fat store, or now we go to Amazon, but not being gawked at, not being ridiculed. But ultimately, it's you. It's you. At what point do you love yourself more than you love the food? Because on one level, you need the food, you need the food, you need the food. Like I remember being in fast food, just waiting, or at the register at the supermarket, just needing to get that food in me, and then you get it, and then like with a lot of binge eating, you binge it all like in 5 minutes, then you feel horrible, then the shame kicks in, and then you want to do it again because you self-loathe. Right? So when you break that cycle, and sometimes it's just a little confidence and a little success. I know that when I lost my weight, and this was a long time ago, I lost 3-4 pounds and it was probably water weight, looking back, but it gave me that motivation that one time to continue. So maybe what you just need is a little success at the beginning, and a little success along with some of the other things, like you have something to lose. Even if it's like your spouse telling you, I'm going to leave you, or if you're younger and your parents are like, I'm going to disinherit you, sometimes we need that fire under our arse to really motivate us. Kind of like with the problem with welfare state, unemployment, is there's not much of a motivation to get a job if you know that you're always going to get free money. So I think hitting rock bottom and having real stakes will get you to get that seesaw to go the other way, to really start trying, instead of what we've been doing since then. But ultimately, everybody is different. I can only tell you what worked for me. So post in the comments, let me know what you think will work for you, or what did work for you. At what point did you start loving yourself more than you love the food or drink? Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.